Hi, I'm Marcia Ralls, and we're here at the Ralls Collection. I'm looking forward for you all to see David Richardson's paintings. This is really one of the best exhibitions we've had in the 20 years here at the gallery. Please meet David Richardson. Could you tell us a little bit about your exhibition?
Sure, Marcia. As you know, the show is titled the Trojan War Years. There are 3 series in the show. There is Series R, the Expatriate series, and then the series based on Homer's Iliad. And what I'd like to do is walk around and take a look at 1 or 2 of the paintings in each of the series and talk about that just a little bit.
Great, let's look.
Okay.
The painting behind me is Expatriate Prototype number 2. The reason I named the series Expatriate series is because, to my surprise, when I got to Seoul, the section of town I was living in, Itaewon, was full of American, Australian, British expatriates living there and either teaching school or doing business in Seoul, Korea. So that's where the title comes from, and I essentially felt an expatriate myself. And that really influenced my work in that I spent a lot of time in Seoul, walking around the town and observing the city. So what stood out most for me was the symbols in the city. And in the daytime, Seoul is kind of a drab, gritty scene. A lot of blacks, a lot of grays, a lot of reds and burnt oranges and that type of thing. So that eventually worked its way into my work. You also notice that the pieces are broken down into blocks or separate canvases. That wasn't originally what I intended. What I originally intended was to use separate canvases to just paint small pieces. And what I did was I had a carpenter build these canvases for me, and I took them home, carrying them on my back on my bicycle. My bicycle was my mode of transportation while I was living in Korea. However, I didn't like the pieces standing alone, so I began to clamp them together and then screw them in place so that they created larger formats and larger pictures. This is an example of a smaller piece. Most of the pictures are larger, being something around 40 by 40 inches. So I've talked about the Expatriate series, which is essentially Seoul, Korea during the daytime. Next I want to talk about Seoul, Korea at night. Seoul, Korea is a city that doesn't sleep. The revelry goes on until the early hours of the morning. But what you see around the city at night are these large neon, either Greek or Latin crosses sitting atop the churches, that are built on the hilltops all around the city. So from any vantage point within Seoul, you can take a look around and you'll see these large crosses. So although Seoul in the daytime is kind of this gritty, drab city, at night it lights up. And it's very vibrant, it's very interesting, and the symbols of the cross kind of stuck in my head and then eventually came out in the work. Notice how the color combinations with Series R are much brighter and spirited than the colors I used in the Expatriate series. In this painting, Miji's a key and commander from the Trojan War series. You'll notice the overall motif of the stone as well as the checkerboard pattern with the binary code inscribed in that checkerboard. Now, the reason I used binary code was kind of related to not being able to read kanji inscriptions on the stone. Just the inscription on the stone and the aesthetics of that interested me. And I kind of tried to do the same thing with the zeros and ones of the binary code. I had tried quite a few different things before settling on the binary code. For example, I tried some of the Greek alphabet, some of the Latin alphabet, the English alphabet, and then I even tried some of the linear B script that would have been used actually during the time of the events in the Iliad. but it didn't really work out. And binary code just kind of came to me one day, in the sense that that's the language we use throughout the world today, that being the language of the computer. I've talked about each one of the series in the exhibition, the Trojan War Years 2000 to 2010. Of course, the best way to see the paintings is on the canvas, or in other words, in the flesh. So if you get a chance, swing by the Ralls Collection and take a look at the work. I appreciate your time. Hope to see you. Thank you.